All right. Well, good morning and welcome to the second Kentucky Summit, Economic Development Strategies to Leverage Kentucky's Riverports and Freight Network. We'd like to welcome everybody who registered and is attending. We'd like to say good morning as we begin this summit and hope that it will be very beneficial to this project and the study. Quickly wanted to just give you some Zoom tips. I'm sure by now everybody has participated in some sort of Zoom call meeting, but wanted to go over it anyways for just a quick reminder. If you look on your bar, the way to utilize it in the upper right corner, you can change your views. So if you're not seeing the slides in full screen, go into that and change your view, and you can also see the speakers and participants in different ways. If you need to mute yourself on the bottom bar, you'll see at the far left the mute and unmute button, which is really important, especially if you're going to take a phone call or something like that, so you don't interrupt. Turn on your camera when you're speaking so that we can see you and see your lovely faces. Helps people sometimes to be more engaged. You can see the participants and the number of participants and chat with them either privately or with the group using the meeting chat button. If you need to share your screen, we plan to present the slides for most of the sessions. I will be presenting, so just call out when you need to forward a slide. And then if you need to put in a reaction, you have that option. And there's also some additional features in the more features with the 3 dots. So that's just a really quick overview. If you have problems or questions, reach out to Haley or Rebecca, who's on here, if you're having some issues, and we'll try and get with you off to the side. All right, moving forward. Just go quickly over the various sessions that we're going to be having over the next 3 days. So today, right now, you are in the opening session. So that will be the next 45 minutes. We'll have a presentation from state leadership, and then later on in the day, we'll have some presentations and changes in the federal transportation and trade policies, and what is the new neighborhood? What are the updates from adjacent state DOTs and their ports programs? Some of our speakers, and I'm just going to go over today's so we don't go through this whole thing. We have Deb Calhoun will give us an update from the Waterways Council, and Tim Pickering from MARAD to give us kind of update on the new 2021 policies and trade issues that are going on nationally. And then later on, Mark Lochner from Ohio DOT, BJ Murray from Illinois DOT, and Dan Palmy from Tennessee DOT. So those are some of the things that you'll be featuring today. And that being shared, welcome to the opening session. I'd like to turn it over to Mikhail Pelfrey to introduce our speakers.
Thank you, Jimmy. Real quick before I introduce the speakers, I know that Secretary Gray is having trouble getting into this session. I don't want to introduce him before he is here. Haley, he mentioned that his secretary mentioned that she was going to email you.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Emails just to make sure, and I don't know if Commissioner Taylor is here yet either. I don't see him.
I saw Christina Slattery was here.
Yes, he called me and said he was having a hard time getting in as well. He said he's not authorized. I don't know. I've sent him the invite. I'm not sure.
Can you share him your Zoom link, Christina?
Yes.
See if that works.
And he may need to use the same email address, so you might have to hop off potentially, but he could get in with your credentials possibly.
in the meantime, while we're trying to figure out the issue here, would it be beneficial to go ahead and have Chandler present his presentation, or do you want, he's just going to give a overview of the project status, and we could go ahead and move forward with that just in the interest of time. Would that be good with everybody?
Sure. I'm working with Secretary Gray.
Okay. All right. So why don't we go ahead and, Mikhail, we'll just let you introduce them once they both get on, and let Chandler do the project overview right now, just to kind of give everybody an update of what's going on with the project and where it stands right now. Is that okay with you, Chandler? Are you able to get on?
Yeah, it's fine with me.
Okay, why don't we go ahead and do that? And that way, we're just going to take the last person on the agenda, move them to the front, and then we'll do the secretary and the commissioner following Chandler.
Okay, and if the secretary gets here while we're going over the project overview and needs to go ahead and speak to us, we can always step back and allow, time for him to speak, and then we can continue. So just again, I'm Chandler Duncan. I'm the project manager of the overall process of this Kentucky Riverport Economic and Market Study. And as we have talked about each time we've been together, we're progressing through the process of our study, as we had talked about at the outset. If you recall our last summit back in the fall, we talked a lot about understanding the market for Kentucky's riverports and what those markets look like and how they relate to the riverport business in Kentucky circa 2020. This time, we're going to be talking a lot about our second item here, which is understanding the economic development process and how the market for our riverports develops, how it's going to be developing over time, how things like COVID and trade and the new administration and other changes that are happening in the country and in the world are going to affect opportunities for Kentucky Riverport. So this is where we're going to start to see the forecast, and we're going to start to see what could be changing in our riverport markets and what can we do about it. This will lead us into the summer, where we're going to be looking at what kind of investments we want to make with that understanding of the future, and then ultimately telling the story, marketing the riverports, and making the business case for the investment. Next slide. Here we can just see that we're working with riverports throughout Kentucky. As y'all remember, back in the fall, we visited all the riverports. Following this summit, we're going to be rolling back out to visit the riverports and their communities yet again. And we're going to be carrying even more information than we have here at this summit. We're going to have even more information about growth and change that's projected in your markets, what's driving that growth. And we're going to look at the infrastructure at each of these riverports and what kind of case we want to make for investment that's going to take advantage of those changes in the economy. And so that all really starts with this summit over the next couple of days, where we're going to start really having that forward-looking view. Next slide. So basically, if you recall, the project tasks sort of follow that general conceptual structure that we had. Again, task 1, we have already completed. Task 2, we have completed to a large degree. We've forecasted future trade volumes and performance implications by mode and by trading partner. And you'll have an opportunity to see that presented this week, as well as what that's doing to the rest of the transportation system. And here we're starting with this summit is really getting into task 3, where we're engaging all of you as stakeholders with future needs and opportunities. And again, this is only the beginning of task 3, where we're going to continue by going out port by port and visiting many of your communities in order to really arrive at those investment and performance scenarios and go on about choosing a preferred investment scenario and making the case for it. So we are just about smack dab in the middle of this project right now. Next slide. And again, I'm not going to go over task 1 in a great deal of detail, but if you recall, this is just what we looked at. If you remember the profiles that we looked at last time, we looked at a lot of the trade patterns that were currently existing. And we looked a lot at how the businesses and the economy are relying on the ports back in the fall. And then that leads us to the task that we just completed. Next slide is task 2, where we, again, we've done forecasts. IHS has done forecasts of trade by commodity, by trading partner. We've integrated that into the transportation network model with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. We're going to be looking at how Kentucky's ground transportation system is supporting the ports. And that's going to be leading us into summit number 2, which is where we are now. So today, or these next couple of days, is really when we start to see the fruits of all that labor, and we're going to have a lot of new information for all of you today on what we found in task 2. And the next slide takes us right to where we are today, which is we're engaging again on the future needs and opportunities. And again, this summit is part of a larger body of activity that will be occurring throughout the spring and into the summer, even, where we start really looking at what does all this mean for your port, what does it mean for your community, and how does it formulate itself into a really meaningful investment package. We'll look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so this is the beginning of a process that'll be happening, as I had mentioned before. And then that will lead us into our follow-up tasks after this. And I won't go into too much detail here, but just to say that as we get into the summer, we're going to look at scenarios, we're going to look at trade-offs, we're going to look at who benefits from investing in the ports. We're going to make a succinct case for where port investment pays off, to whom, how we can exploit market opportunities that we start looking at today, and to find their way into a business case for specific investments and priorities as we get into the summer. And then next slide on into, as we get to the end of the summer, we're going to have a preferred investment scenario that we will be presenting and able to show as we get near the end of the study in the late summer. And we're going to look at economic impacts in terms of how is investing in ports, investing in jobs, what jobs we create, how do we affect household income, how do we affect the state's gross domestic product, how do we grow the port business. That is where we're ultimately headed with this. And then that leads us into our final task 6 on the next slide, which is our success roadmap. We're going to be leaving at the end of this process, of course, with all of what we're doing leads us up to actionable steps that ports can take to market themselves, to take advantage of change in the economy, to make the right investments, to make the case for investments, and ultimately to move forward, hopefully, with the best strategy for port development anywhere in this country. Next slide. So we're looking really at a lot of different goals and strategies. Within our port process, we're doing a lot of things around consensus building, having a lot of dialogue, understanding what these goals really mean. What do you do as a port when you want to increase trade, reduce unemployment, increase those economic indicators? And then how do you get there? How do you actually make those investments? How do you actually attract that business? How do you go through the capture phase of the port business? And where does the money come from? And what are the different ways of financing that? All of these are things that are going to come out of this summit in conjunction with the rest of our activities. Next slide. Yeah, I'm ready for the next slide, Jimmy. And here again, we just see our port locations. And this is going to be something that we look at a lot when we look at our forecasts and we look at our economic growth. What we're going to see is that the Kentucky Riverport system is really tied to a much larger waterway and rail transportation system, as well as the whole highway network. And we're going to see how there are opportunities for modal capture to particular trading partners and markets, ways that ports and railroads can work together, ways that ports can be complemented by things that are happening on the state highway system, as well as potential partnerships with other trading partners. This map shows the modal systems with the blue systems and our Riverport systems and our rail systems. And what we're going to see as we look at this tomorrow, we look at forecasts, and Paul Bingham and others will be showing how this map actually extends all the way out to the rest of the world. And we actually see how the world is trading on the river and it's trading with Kentucky. And all of that trade is changing in the post-COVID recovery. It's all changing with the change of administration. It's all changing with global trade. We're going to look at the specifics of what that change means for every dot on this map as we go through these next couple days. Next slide. And so really there are 3 different elements that come from this. As we say, what we want to have happen is we really want for everybody to leave here at the end of this week, to leave this virtual space of this summit, excited and ready to see more and learn more about what's happening in the economy, have more dialogue about how the economic development process can stimulate your market. Because we're going to be coming to see you. We're going to be coming to see you in the next couple of months. Starting in April, you're going to hear from us. We're going to get something, we're going to get on the schedule, and we're going to present more information. So we want for these next couple of days to really shape all of the thinking that goes into our next round of visits. And for you to leave here really ready to have more of that dialogue, feeling more prepared to talk about where your port market is headed, how infrastructure fits into it, how KYTC's program, how economic development fits into it, so that we can start really working on strategies that lead us into scenarios and roles that everybody here at this summit can play in building that market and managing those trade-offs. And that will ultimately lead us, there will be a technical report that goes to the KYTC at the end of this engagement stage, where we will recap everything that we've learned here and all the implications of the analysis that is presented here in the next couple of days. So this is really kind of where we're going here. As the flowers come out and we get into the spring, this is what you'll find this research team doing, this consulting team doing, and this is also what you can expect to be doing with us. And we really look forward to that collaboration coming out of this summit. Next slide. And this is our schedule. We have opened up our schedule a little bit as we took a little bit more time in the fall to get things going. And also we continue to be forecasting a lot of different things. Our forecasting activity is just wrapping up as far as forecasting our trade volumes. And again, you will see those presented tomorrow. We're right in the middle, we're engaging you guys throughout the process. We're now at that second orange dot that you see there in late March, which is our second summit. But there's going to be more visits to the ports, as we've talked about, and we'll continue engaging you. You'll continue to see us all the way until we're done at the end of the summer, early fall. One thing that will be changing, you'll see, is that we're going to start talking about projects as we get into the fall. We're going to start talking more about those specific investments, those specific pieces of infrastructure, and how they fit in to what we're talking about, and possibly even coming up with some new ideas about investments that need to be made. So this is something that we first started thinking about back in February, March. But as we get into the spring, we're going to be talking a lot about projects and investments. And then we're going to be talking about scenarios and trade-offs after that. And so everything will feed into ultimately the choices about what our preferred recommendations are. And of course, we'll be managing from start to finish. So I'll be managing the project as the air traffic controller of the whole process. Jimmy will be working through the day-to-day interaction. You can contact us at any time. And of course, at the cabinet, Jeremy is managing this process from within the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet throughout, and Mikhail is also actively involved in the project leadership. So the leadership team will be involved in managing and leading this process, and we want to be accessible to you from the beginning to the end. Next slide. Are there any questions about where we are in the project, or what's coming next, or what we hope that your takeaways will be from this next couple of days? All right, hearing none, that's good. Hopefully that means everybody is excited and ready to jump in. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions as the information starts to come out in the next couple of days. I look forward to the discussion and look forward to hearing from everyone throughout this process and following the summit. So with that, I will hand it back over.
Thank you, Chandler. Just quickly, if you didn't see the slides earlier, we have a session later today from 1 to 1:45, and from 2 to 3. So make sure that you guys are participating in those later sessions, as they will kind of give that outlook Chandler was mentioning. And just a brief segue, we will be reaching out, both myself and Ken Erickson, in the coming days following the summit, to schedule our visits with each of you ports and some of your stakeholders. So if we reach out to you, please just help us along with that, and we will we'll look forward to that. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. And Haley, do we have the commissioner or the secretary available?
I saw Christina get on. I was thinking that perhaps Commissioner Taylor was using her account. Is that possible?
No, it's me.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I don't know. I don't know what has happened, but he said he would. I sent him a call-in number. He may pop in a little bit later.
Okay. I saw someone just call in from a 502 area code. Is that possibly?
Commissioner Taylor, are you on?
Possibly muted.
Yeah, Secretary Gray is having issues as well. He's asked that we move on without him. So
Okay.
At this time, he's not able to get on as well.
Would you like me to just kind of cover a couple things from our perspective?
That would be fantastic.
Okay. Well, I'm so sorry. This is, I guess, the world we're living in nowadays. So I am Christina Slattery. I am our Deputy Commissioner at the Economic Development Cabinet, and, work alongside Commissioner Taylor and our Cabinet Secretary, Larry Hayes, which many of you may know, at the at the Economic Development Cabinet. So we have been excited to be a part of this process since the very beginning when the RFP went out, to find who was going to do this really important work for us. So we thank you all for your hard work and participation here. This is really important to the Economic Development Cabinet and to our work in Kentucky. As you all know, Kentucky, a lot of times the things that put us on the map globally are the things that we all are very familiar with: the bourbon, Muhammad Ali, Kentucky Fried Chicken. I mean, those things help us get that brand recognition as a state, really on a global level. But once we get our foot in the door, it really is our logistics and transportation aspects that are probably our number one seller for Kentucky. So the centrally located, you all have heard us say 100 times, we are located within 2/3 of the population, with all modes of transportation. We feel like we really do have a logistical advantage. One thing that came up, in the very beginning is that I felt like we did have an opportunity within our team to have a better understanding of what the Riverport opportunities are. What freight is coming in and out of those Riverports, what sites are located there that we could potentially market to clients, what are the capabilities of those Riverports across the state. The metals and automotive industry and agricultural industry are huge in Kentucky, and the Riverports are such a vital part of that. We've seen that, quite frankly, some of the other states may have been a little bit more innovative in the things that they have done with their Riverports. And, we want to be, making sure that we're doing everything we can to maximize those assets. Water truly is a sell for Kentucky. We're often working with companies from California or out west that don't have the logistical advantages, don't have the business-friendly climate, don't have the access to water that so many manufacturers need for their processes and to move their goods. So we really, I'll just say again, this is an important project to us and something that we're excited to continue to participate in. The Riverports, not only are they a source of support for Kentucky industry, but they are Kentucky industry. You guys provide employment to Kentuckians all across 120 counties. So we greatly appreciate that. So anything that we can do to help, the commissioner may hop in a little bit later and have a few more words to say, but we're excited to continue working with transportation and really all of the entities that have helped to put this together.
Christina, I've joined, and I apologize for being tardy. I had a lot of trouble logging in, but Christina is really pretty much said it all, and I probably will be a bit redundant here, but bear with me. But prior to joining the cabinet, I spent 31 years with the Tennessee Valley Authority. I grew up in the TVA region near the power plants and hydroelectric plants, and it was always a childhood desire to go to work for the Tennessee Valley Authority, but I was more interested in electrical generation. I always thought TVA was a power company. But after I went to work for them, I found out that TVA is actually an economic development engine. Prior to the 1930s, under the New Deal with FDR, the Shoals, Alabama, and portions of the Tennessee River, it was third world country. A lot of poverty, depression, no rural electrification. So the rivers were dammed up for the transport of goods, strictly for economic development, for the transport of goods. So I found out that electricity generation was a byproduct. but that generation of electricity electrified rural America, which in turn further enhanced economic development. The Riverports are huge. Intermodal is huge. I've seen a world-class intermodal port in Decatur, Alabama. All these things help the Kentucky economy, and something that I'm really interested in as we speak is the rural economy and the role that Riverports can play in enhancing that. We still struggle with the rural economy. It's not just a Kentucky issue, it's a nationwide issue. We also have a program called the Product Development Initiative. We have issues, not just Kentucky, but it's a nationwide issue of good available sites, good available Riverports, good available buildings. It's a nationwide issue. So I'm in strong support of this. I encourage you all to continue doing what you're doing. It gives us a competitive edge. And at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to. We have to be competitive against the states that are most likely to go after the same projects that we are. And those are the states that are contiguous to us or that share the same rivers that we do. It's a pleasure being here. I just wanted to make those brief comments. Any of you can contact me anytime, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. We appreciate your words, and we appreciate the just the reinforcement of this project, and just that is what we are trying to do. And so the support from y'all is just critical. And as we move forward, the tools that this project will provide will help to align these agencies and in that mission. So appreciate you being able to get on and give those supporting comments and words, and appreciate the story that you gave as well. It's very good. Mikhail, did we have any luck at getting Secretary Gray available?
He has not been able to join. I've been in with contact with his personal secretary, and he's having issues with the with the Zoom link. I could say a few words for him. Secretary Gray has been a big advocate of this study in itself. He's also been a big proponent of all issues, kind of multimodal. He's been a big support for the Division of Planning. He's a strong advocate for all issues multimodal, whether it be bicycles, pedestrians, rail, freight, and this particular study focuses on the Riverports and the waterways. But we've been blessed to have been a partner on the study with the Kentucky Cabinet of Economic Development. We look forward to continuing that partnership, both with this study and moving forward. And I guess this time, we could take any type of questions, but sorry that he had issues with joining us today. It seems like it's a problem for a lot of us, or a lot of folks on this call. But I know that he's expresses sympathy for not being able to be here with us today. He was really looking forward to addressing this group.
Thank you, Mikhail. If any of y'all that are on the call right now, we have about 10 to 15 minutes scheduled. If you want to ask any questions to the project team, Chandler, Duncan, or to the project management team, Mikhail is on the call, and we still have Christina. I'm sure she could answer a couple questions related to anything on the economic development side. We just opened that up a little bit early, so we have a little bit extra time to do that, and this is your opportunity to do that. And if you just would you can use the little thing to raise your hand. I do see Greg Pritchett is already raising his hand, so why don't we start with you, Greg, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. Everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good. I'm really grateful to see our economic development cabinet folks on this morning, and I'm just kind of curious if y'all had any thoughts about specifically about how you might end up using this study in your own case. so far as trying to move forward and move the state forward. Have you any thoughts about how you might try to use this case or use this study and keeping that study refreshed in the economic development cabinet's staffing?
Yes, sir. I can answer that. Really, one thing that I think is pretty much a given for us is that it's going to be a marketing tool for us. We're going to have a better understanding, I think, of what the opportunities are statewide. We don't have great marketing information that represents every single Riverport. And that's a lot of what our cabinet is here to do, to sell Kentucky, to market Kentucky. So for us, I think that's one piece of it, is that it's going to give us some tools that we need to put in front of companies and consultants and, be able to answer those questions as it pertains to Riverports. Secondly, probably the biggest issue that we face statewide is the availability of sites and buildings that meet the criteria that companies need and can meet them quickly. So it's all about speed to market and how quickly can they build and get permitted and get up and running. And so understanding what opportunities may lie at each Riverport for companies to locate or to partner with those Riverports would be critical to us. And lastly, I would say, this would give us an understanding of what those gaps are at each Riverport that may be needed for infrastructure, or, quite frankly, we get a lot of requests, to support different build grants or different programs for each Riverport. And we want to support all of them. So this type of work could help us to see, where do we need to be trying to move resources so that the Riverports can truly have what they need for future development. So I think that will be helpful to us too, from an asset map and identifying what those gaps are that we need to laser focus on trying to fill. And I could go on and on. Some of these, there may be workforce issues that arise at each Riverport for the Riverports themselves, that we identify an opportunity with education and workforce that, we can shift some funding to support. So really, I think that there are a variety of different opportunities there. We want to be able to sell the Riverports to our potential companies that this saves money for them. This is helpful to the environment. And I think that this will give us those tools that we need.
Thank you, Christina. And that really aligns really well with what you'll be hearing throughout the summit. And it also will provide us with a good launch pad for our upcoming visits to the ports. Okay. And those are some of the questions we're going to be directly asking each of the ports. Related to availability of land, capacity and warehousing and storage, and then, of course, future funded plans and unfunded type plans and stuff like that. So those are the things that we're going to be launching into. Go ahead, Christina. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and now more than ever, I think we're all getting ready to see an influx of funds coming into local communities from, some of these federal relief packages. And it's going to be critical to make sure that, that we're using those to really foster that development. So I hope that this means that there will be an opportunity to fund some things that we may not have had in the past, and that this guidance could be really, really helpful in that. So.
Thank you. Any other questions while we have the totality of the leadership team here from both sides? If there's any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or turn your camera on and wave at us, or just raise your virtual hand down there, and we'll try and get to you right now.
There was a question in the chat about those federal dollars and where those are going to land. I think that's still up in the air from, the legislator will be coming back in session on Monday and Tuesday to have some of those discussions. A lot of times those funds are funneled through the Department of Local Government at the state level and then available to our communities from there. So I truly don't have a direct answer to that question, but that is what my impression is so far. And I think we will know more after the legislator is adjourned next Tuesday.
Thank you, Christina. There was another question that kind of tied into that as well, and that just talking about collectively preparing for any federal infrastructure opportunities and bringing those to the local level. So that is definitely a focus that we will have in our study, and you may even hear from some of the other state DOTs that we'll be talking later about how they did it. So take good notes and see if there's opportunities to better understand. Even though the ports compete with one another and the states compete against each other for federal dollars, I think you find some that will be very helpful and very excited to share how they did it and to spread the good fortune around. So you'll hear some of that in some of our later sessions. So be taking notes, and if you have any questions for them as well, we'll try and provide ample time for you to get your questions across. All right, so any last questions? This is your opportunity to speak up now.
Sure. I have a question for the Deputy Administrator again, if we have a moment.
Go ahead, Glenn.
I think one of the challenges we have is some of the environmental regulations and being able to move sites quickly to being able to be build ready and understanding what those are. Just any thoughts that you have on how we can best navigate some of these environmental regulations and what support you're able to offer to get us through some of those hurdles quickly so that we can bring opportunities to fruition.
Absolutely. And, I will say the Energy and Environment Cabinet, and I think that they are represented here, they are a wonderful partner to us. We work with them on just like we do with transportation and other cabinets, on almost every single project that we have, because I'll be honest, some states have a lot more money to put forward to than Kentucky. Tennessee, some of these other states can be more aggressive on the incentive side of things. And sometimes we are punching above our weight class a little bit in that ball game. But what we offer and the feedback that we get is that we're responsive, that we're business friendly, that you can easily access Secretary Gray or the governor. So, back to your question, we have had a lot of luck working with Energy and Environment on expedited permitting. They are very good about, they don't present themselves as a regulatory agency. They add value to our process and have great relationships. The fact that Kentucky has primacy on some of their permitting processes as opposed to other states is an advantage as it pertains to speed to market. But I can't speak for the Energy and Environment Cabinet, but I know that they are willing to assist and expedite in any way that they can. They've got a great relationship with the Army Corps of Engineers, and will do anything they can to assist. Does Energy and Environment, will they be participating in the conference today?
Not today, no.
Okay.
Do you have a point of contact that you would reference?
I do. Her name is Carrie Johnson, and I can send you her contact information. She serves really as a consultant with companies and communities that we are working with to advise them on, permitting processes and timelines. And it's wonderful to work with, can pull in the appropriate parties, whether that's Division of Air Quality, wastewater, Division of, whomever it is, she acts as sort of that streamlined main point of contact and can bring the appropriate parties to the table.
Thank you, Christina, and want to thank everybody who took the time to sign on and participate. Want to thank the presentations from Commissioner Taylor and from Christina Slattery and Chandler Duncan, project manager for this project, and Mikhail, I thank you for giving an update from the transportation cabinet. And I just is there any last words that you want to state, Mikhail, before we wrap up here?
Just want to thank everybody for attending. We have, like Jimmy has said, we've got 6 more sessions, or 5 or 6 more sessions throughout the next couple days, and look forward to hearing from you, your participation, and look forward to any type of questions. And we want to get the best product out of this study that'll be able to suit everyone's needs. So, please give us input and feedback on how we can do that for you. Thank you.
I have shared my contact information and Carrie's in the chat.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, just go ahead and copy that out of the chat if you need to speak with Christina in any more detail following this session. And just to just restate, we have at 1 o'clock today, noon Central Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, we have the 2021 changes in federal transportation trade policy. So I think that would be a really good session to kind of follow up on what we just heard, both from the Transportation Cabinet and economic development. So be sure you tune in for that. If you've had or know of anybody that's having issues signing in, we did have 53 participants get in, but feel free to shoot an email to Haley if you need to get in there and get some help, or to any of us on the project team. We will try and do our best between these sessions to find out what was preventing folks from getting in the Zoom link. We don't fully understand that, but we're definitely researching it fervently right now to try and figure that out. So we will be on top of that before the next session. So go ahead, Haley.
Just in case we do have a call into Zoom, please just take a look at your emails before this afternoon session. Should anything have to change from a Zoom setting perspective, we will resend an email to everyone if that does occur. But we are working on it from the technical perspective.
Thank you.
Sorry for your inconvenience, and thank you for your patience, but something has definitely changed in Zoom world.
I appreciate it, Haley, and just please, we appreciate everybody's patience, and we thank you for being respectful. I know sometimes it's frustrating when you want to and you're expecting to get in and it's not working correctly. So we're working hard to make sure we get that right before the next session. So thank you. At this point, I'll just go ahead and adjourn and say we appreciate everybody being on this morning, and we will see you today at 1 p.m.